And my first thought was, wow, abortion really does bring out the kid in you. Are y'all ready for your next comic? This guy's hilarious. He's a friend of mine. He is a brilliant writer. He writes more than anyone else I've met in the comedy scene in New Orleans. He's challenging the rest of us to write more, be better, and he's also performing at NOLA Comedy Fest this weekend. You're gonna love him. Make some noise, sound like a million people for Christopher Anthony, everyone.
This is like the weirdest episode of Sesame Street. It's like, today's theme is sobriety. Brought to you by the letters N and A. And the number, whoever still answers your calls. So first things first, I want to address a few things. Everybody who does is self-deprecating humor. I would, but I don't have any content. I'm just so perfect. It's horrible. I'm going to address one thing. I know right off the bat a lot of you guys are thinking, he doesn't look funny. I know. I don't look like I was ever picked on, that I had to develop a sense of humor, that I need cynicism to get through life, but I learned on my own. True story, they wanted a photo for the digital flyers they were putting for the evening. I sent them a photo, and then naturally I promoted it to my friends. My friends responded, looked at the photo, this is all true. Screenshot just to show it. First friend says, why am I getting 17-year-old fuckboy vibes? Second friend said, why'd you send them a picture from 10 years ago? It was from 2 weeks ago. That's a backhanded compliment, I guess. And the third one said, how do you expect people to think you're funny? You're not even smiling in the photo. I was smiling in the photo. I have what they call resting bitch face. I found out in a weird way. Every time I stand by the entrance of a club or a bar, people show me their ID. I just look like I'm not there with anyone or for anything. I don't even meet the height requirement, not that intimidating, but it's a true story. At first I thought the women were just being forward, like, oh, here's my address. I was like, and then the guys started doing it. It's like, what? All right. Primarily I try to do like a clean comedy. I'm a clean comic, and it's really hard these days to try and come up with really funny content without using drugs or alcohol. It's so challenging. Plenty of curse words, just because again, sobriety is the theme of the evening. And a lot of my friends are like, dude, you're gonna have to step up your game. You gotta do what the professional comics do. Cocaine is just so expensive, is really what's... True story, and I have to preface, I say this all the time because a lot of these comedians, they lie. I'm just gonna put it out there. They lie. This is a true story. I moved here from South Florida. South Florida about 7 years ago. And I didn't have to work at the time because I saved up. So there I am wandering around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And naturally, people just came up to me and asked me if I had drugs. And then it got to the point where I was offered drugs. This is another true story. I was walking home. This guy comes up to me and he says, hey man, do you party? And I was like, yeah, of course. I live right by the French Quarter. I go out to clubs. I love to dance. He's like, no, man. You want some party favors? And I was just like, I don't usually decorate. Usually bring sodas and chips, but no streamers. He's like, no, man. I got that weed. I got the best weed. And this is a true story. There was a cop across the street. I looked at the cop. I looked back at the guy, and I said, how are you going to try and sell me drugs when there's a cop right there? This guy didn't miss a beat. Looked at the cop, looked back at me, and this is what he said. He said, I already asked him, but they drug test now. Once you got a badge, he don't buy. And I was just like, I hear you. Keep the business going. I don't drink, which is a blasphemous thing to say in New Orleans especially. I don't drink. And people always assume that there's a story, that either me or my mom or my dad had some horrible drinking problem. There's no story. I just don't like the taste of alcohol. Just that simple, right? I also don't eat mayonnaise. But that's because my dad beat the fuck out of me with a mayonnaise jar. All throughout my childhood. Almonds doesn't even feel the same anymore. Thankfully, they switched to plastic after a while, so that... But then none of my friends are like, hey, listen, we're gonna go to some places that serve mayonnaise. Is that cool with you? I might have some mayonnaise tonight. I'm not gonna go overboard or anything. Not like last time. No one ever asks. Weird. I don't drink, I don't eat mayonnaise. No one ever assumes there's a story about the mayonnaise. I was at a nightclub because I think nightclubs are probably the best places for me to meet women because there's no better preparation for marriage than yelling at each other at 2 o'clock in the morning. I feel like it really sets the tone. Sneak preview of years to come. This is another true story, okay? I'm sitting here waiting my time. I wait for the DJ to do the thing that DJs always do. Like, where my single ladies at? And all the women cheer, and I'm over there strategically placing, all right, she cheered, she raised her hand. I go and I approach this girl. Conversation's going well. But it gets to a point where she notices I'm not holding a cup. I'm not drinking anything. So she's like, so what are you drinking? Because she's done with hers. This really happened, hear me out. I said, actually, I don't drink. And before I even have a chance to explain that or the mayonnaise situation, I'm like trying to tell her, yeah, I don't drink, but I'm not like in recovery, I don't judge. And she's like, she does this thing, This is what she says. She's like, look, are you like in recovery or something? Do you like have a drinking problem? Because I've made promises to my friends, my family, people who love and care for me, promises that I can't break, and I just can't be with another guy who drinks. And so she walks away. Oh, and she also said, it doesn't matter how cute you are. It doesn't matter how cute you are. And all I'm sitting there thinking is, you thought I was cute? Can we have just started with that? And then I would have pretended, I would have drank whatever, I don't get no big deal. So there was another time I was at a show and it was like a battle of the bands kind of situation, and she assumed that I was like one of the musicians. Now I know you guys are thinking, I've already proven I'm funny, why would she think that? Well, okay, so if I do this, and I do this, and I do this thing, I suddenly look like I maybe play something. I suddenly look like my grandma insists on giving me her credit card so she doesn't have to worry about me. Or maybe I've like put a permanent indentation in my aunt's couch, but people have faith in me. So I look like a musician. Now here's my grievance. There's an unspoken rivalry between comedians and musicians. And I'll tell you why. First and foremost, when you tell people you're a lyricist or a musician, they don't immediately say, sing me something. No. Sing something right now. But if you say, oh yeah, I'm a comedian. Oh, you're funny. Tell me a joke. No, like, stop, you're not walking, tell me a joke. Second thing is, when you're a comedian, everybody assumes that they are sitting on the best joke ever. They're like, you know what would be funny? You know what would be funny? What if you, they start laughing hysterically like they're delirious, right? You know what'd be funny? What if you did a joke about an awkward conversation between your stepmother and your mother-in-law? Wouldn't that be great? Like, no. That wouldn't be funny. No musician ever has been like, hey, can you just come over here for a second? You know what'd be a great idea for a song? An awkward Thanksgiving dinner, really weird encounter with a lot of drinking and some plate breaking. Like, nobody ever does that. If you have an instrument, you're automatically a musician. But if you have a notebook full of stuff, they think it's like a manifesto. They worry and they separate themselves from you. You can have all the greatest content in the world, it doesn't make you a comedian. When you're a musician, you can come up with one song. You can come up with one cute little melody that entertains people for 3.5 to 4 minutes and buy a house with the money. There's no comedian who's like, okay, you know how I made it big? You know that joke about like how realtors they require too much of a percentage rate? That's me. That's my joke. I bought this house in Malibu. No, that doesn't happen. You can sell a record with like 2 to 3 good songs. That's it. But imagine going to a comedy special. Oh, tickets were like $90. Show was like 1 hour and 20 minutes. How was it? Well, it was like 2 to 3 good jokes. The rest of the time, just suffering. Okay. Musicians can come up and sing other people's songs, and you guys love it. But if I came up on stage and Ryan introduced me like Christopher Anthony doing some of your favorite jokes from the late 70s and early 80s, you guys are gonna love it. No. Musicians come up, they sing the same 2 to 3 songs. They could have 5 albums later, like, no, the early stuff was when it's good. Back when they weren't sober. Okay. Are you guys gonna sing it? Just come on, just open or close with it. Stuff I know, because I haven't bought the last 4 albums. Honestly, don't care about you guys. But no comedian, you're like, okay, you told this one joke 5 years ago. I brought a bunch of friends. Can you tell it? No. Yeah, no. That doesn't happen. And finally, my biggest grievance, you go out to like an Aerosmith concert, right? And they're like, dude, looks like a lady, right? And then like, wow, okay, we're gonna try. Dude looks like a lady. And like, meanwhile, they'll do this whole thing. You know the song, you sing it for 1.5 minutes. They're like checking their emails, they're text messaging their mistress, like, no, now's not a good time, give me another 20 minutes. And you guys are singing, and you paid good money for it. But imagine if I come up as a comic and I'm like, went to the car dealership and what? Pay too much, that's right. Yeah! Okay, you guys have been great, have a good night.
Christopher Anthony, everyone. Let him hear it. Woo! Are you guys ready for your headliner? First, a couple things. Get another drink, patronize Jason, tip Jason, be good, and remember that it's New Orleans. You can take to-go drinks after, right? So a lot for that. Before that, I have a personal responsibility tonight to confess some things to you, right? Before we bring up Luke, I want to tell you guys a couple things real quick. First is about gender, right? I love that gender these days, like right now, has become so fluid. It's pretty wonderful to me.